San Francisco is home to many iconic landmarks that have helped to define the city. However, there is one icon in particular that remains a constant staple for tourists all around the world, and that is San Francisco's Municipal Railway cable car system. How's it going, everyone? This is MacLeod here. I hope all of you guys are having a wonderful day, and welcome to the first official video of 2023. As a precursor to the second part of my San Francisco day trip, this video will take an in-depth look into the history and development of San Francisco's cable cars, as well as how they work. I hope you enjoy. Prior to the cable car, horse-drawn carriages were the only means of transportation throughout San Francisco. However, as the city continued to expand into the hilly terrain of the San Francisco Peninsula, this became a serious safety issue for the animals as they arduously struggled to climb up the steep gradients. One incident in particular involved the carriage driver whipping the horses as they slipped on the wet cobblestones, all while traversing an incline with a loaded horse car. No longer able to bear the weight of the car, the horses succumbed to the gravity acting against them and slipped, being dragged to their death. This incident caught the attention of Andrew Smith Halliday, an immigrant from Great Britain who came to the United States in 1852 to capitalize on the California gold rush, which had started 3 years prior. Halliday's father had invented and secured the patent for wire rope cable, which Halliday incorporated into a cable system designed to haul ore out of mines, as well as to provide structural support in suspension bridges. In 1869, Halliday responded to the horse carriage issue by developing a cable-driven transport system that was also powered by a steam engine. Just 4 years later, in May of 1873, Halliday began construction on the first cable line in the city, the Clay Street Hill Railroad, and by September, it officially began its services to the public. For the next 4 years, the Clay Street Hill Railroad remained the only cable car company in San Francisco. However, the success of Halliday's cable design proved that it was a valuable market for public transport within the city, and competing companies began to emerge, starting with the Sutter Street Railroad in 1887. And by the 1890s, 8 different companies were operating within San Francisco city limits, having laid down a total track distance of 53 miles. Interestingly, each of these companies used different rail widths, or gauges, meaning that cable cars from different companies could not share the same track. The cable car began to thrive as the staple of transportation for the people of San Francisco. This period of prosperity would not last long, however, as one event in the city's history would change the trajectory of the cable car system's career. On April 18, 1906, the city of San Francisco would literally be shaken to its core by the infamous Great Earthquake, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake that killed nearly 3,000 residents and left 400,000 residents homeless. The earthquake and subsequent fires destroyed most of the city's infrastructure, including the cable lines, which were torn apart by the oscillation and shift in the tectonic plates. The days of the cable car seemed to be over, and new advances in public transport, such as buses and electric streetcars, were demonstrating efficiency through their reliability and lower cost of maintenance. Some cable car routes were rebuilt due to their ability to traverse the city's steep inclines, yet this would not be enough to keep the cable cars continuously running throughout the city. In 1947, San Francisco Mayor Roger Lapham began advocating the removal of the cable cars in favor of using a public bus system which was less expensive to maintain. His efforts would be met with staunch opposition though, particularly from a lady by the name of Friedel Klussman, founder of the Citizens Committee to Save the Cable Cars. Klussman believed that the cable cars were more than just public transport, and that they were an integral part of the city's history and a major icon for tourists. Thus, their value, she argued, was far greater than their cost to operate, and that November, during the local city election, Klussman and the committee put forth an amendment to the San Francisco City Council to preserve the cable car system, known as Measure 10, which drew in numerous support from denizens of the public and the media, and passed in a swift victory. The cable cars had averted their demise, but as the mid-1970s approached, The now century-old lines were beginning to show their age, having little maintenance done to keep them intact. On September 21, 1982, the city of San Francisco would initiate the Cable Car System Rehabilitation Program, an extensive restoration which suspended all service for the next 2 years. Covering 69 city blocks, the restoration involved a complete removal of the original tracks and brick cable channels, the latter of which were replaced with reinforced concrete. The city also installed new turntables at each end of the restored Powell Hyde and Powell Mason lines. The original 1887 cable car barn and powerhouse, located at the intersection of Washington and Mason Streets, was reconstructed entirely from the ground up, with the exception to the exterior walls and chimney, and was refitted with all new equipment including motor gearboxes and cable car safety systems. Today, the building houses the city's Cable Car Museum. On June 3, 1984, after 2 years of tedious rehabilitation, the California Street line officially opened to the public, running east from Van Ness Avenue in the west along California Street to Drum Street near the Embarcadero. This was followed by the 2 Powell lines 1 week later, both of which run from Fisherman's Wharf in the north southwards towards Union Square, located in the heart of the downtown district. In 1997, the city would rename the turnaround at Ghirardelli Square the Friedel Klussman Memorial Turnaround, in honor of Klussman's legacy and her efforts to save the cable cars. To this day, these 3 lines remain as a symbol of the history of public transport in San Francisco. And now that we've explored the history of these famed cable cars, let's discuss a little bit about how they work. The idea behind the cable car is that the car travels along a steel track over a hollowed-out channel in the street which contains the steel cable. The driver, or gripman, operates a grip lever on the car that reaches below into the channel to grab onto the cable, which provides movement at a constant 9.5 miles per hour. And at any moment, the gripman can release the grip on the cable in order to provide braking. Inside the cable channel, there are pulley wheels spaced every 15 feet apart to support the cable as it travels underneath the street, with larger pulley wheels used for aiding the car as it traverses up the inclines. When the cable car approaches the foot of a hill, a special pulley known as a depression bar pulley prevents the cable from rising out of the street by placing a pulley wheel on top of the cable. Using the weight of the car, this pulley features a depression bar that removes the pulley wheels away from the cable, freeing for the grip to pass through unimpeded. Once the cable car has passed over, the depression bar is released and the pulleys return to holding down the cable. One of the trickiest parts of operating a cable car is when 2 separate cable lines intersect one another, or when a car needs to navigate turns in the track. In each of these situations, the gripman must let go of the cable either to prevent a collision with another cable line or to allow the pulleys to quote-unquote rotate the cable in the case of turning. Once the cable is clear of an intersection or a turn, the gripman can pick up the cable once again to resume the journey. And that concludes the history of the cable cars' development and how they operate. I really enjoyed making this video, and I'm thinking about doing similar videos to these in the future. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As always, to get more content like this, remember to tune in same Matt time, same Matt channel. And now, without further ado, let's take a look at the second part of my day trip to San Francisco.